So the year is 1996.
Okay, in May, a call goes out for volunteers.
Okay.
Volunteers for the Republican Convention that will be held in San Diego in August. And so I sign up to work 9 to 1 o'clock, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And Congressman Darrell Issa was head of the volunteers. He had a business company in North County, and he and his wife went every day to work, and they stopped at our headquarters. He to check on his business as a volunteer chairman, and then he would come and visit with us volunteers every day. And now I see him on TV all the time. And
Right now he's on TV heading up this investigation for Benghazi, Libya, and the murder of our ambassador.
Yeah, exactly. And who would have thought when we were there stuffing envelopes that this man someday. Anyway, so worked those 3 days, and the lady who was in charge of us volunteers would call us over one by one and work with us individually. She would have an assignment for the lady who ran the actual office, the office leader, supervisor. Anyway, she made it a point to every day she would take one of us volunteers up close to her desk, and she would have an assignment for us to do. So she could talk with us, get to know us, see how we worked, etc. And of course, much later I realized she was sizing us up for what job she was going to assign us. Anyway, I could tell that she and I were really connecting. And when the Wall Street Journal called and wanting to interview a volunteer, she chose me to do the interview with the Wall Street Journal. And the reason they were calling, I do believe, and wanting to talk to a volunteer, because it was supposed to be a big hush-hush who the vice president would be. But under the scuttlebutt was it was going to be this guy.
Kemp. Right.
Jack Kemp.
And you like Kemp.
Yeah, I liked his money thinking, financial thinking.
Similar to Forbes, if I recall.
Okay, see, Forbes was my candidate for this whole thing. And so I was disappointed when Doe got it. Anyway, well, I'll tell you about Doe. Arrived in San Diego, flew into San Diego, they picked him up, drove him over, put him on a boat so he could sail into the Embarcadero, which was the headquarters. And anyway, it was on a Sunday afternoon, and they wanted us volunteers to be and meet him. Well, I didn't like him in the first place, and so I wanted to be off Sunday really to watch football. Anyway, he arrived. He came by boat and set foot on the Embarcadero and said, "It's so wonderful to be in San Francisco." And when I heard him say that, I knew I could not work the last night of the convention with the balloons dropping and all the hoopla after his name went into nomination. And I decided that Sunday I would not work the last night of the convention. Okay. So anyway, we did get our assignments, and I was an usher attendant. And and it has a picture. Anyway, CNN's booth was closest to where I was, and so I saw Larry King was by all the time, and all of those people. But, and there were rafters up overhead, and Dana Carvey of Saturday Night Live would appear above us on those rafters, and he would be rehearsing what he was going to do, a little political skit on the air during the convention. Anyway, over in the A section, one afternoon, we had to report at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and get our credentials, get signed in. And then we were free to do whatever until 4 o'clock when we had to report to our station. And I would always go to Radio Row and pick up newspapers from all over the country, particularly the hometowns of the candidates. And I would always pick up the Washington Post and a couple other papers. And then I'd go to Radio Row. And at Radio Row, the most memorable person I saw was Kel Thomas, and he was bent over Roger Hitchcock, who used to be San Diego mayor and was now in radio, and he used to substitute for Rush. Right. Because his program was same time as Rush's, but now he's gone national. And he's no longer on. But anyway, Kel Thomas was bent over, leaning, whispering to Roger. And then I came up because I wanted to say something to Roger. And Kel Thomas stood up, and he stood up, and he stood up. And my Lord, he's the tallest man. And he's so friendly. Anyway, I went on down further on Radio Row one day, and here was Simpson, Senator Simpson from Wyoming, who is the Simpson-Bowes Commission that Obama never did do anything with their report. But he was a joke teller, storyteller. He was noted for that. And he was having, as he would go down Radio Row, people were just laughing their heads off at jokes he had told them. One thing I want to back up and say, the night before the convention there was a dinner, fundraising dinner held because San Diego had not come up with all the funds promised. So they had a fundraising dinner, and from the back hallway comes our representative, Duke Cunningham. And honestly, they treated him like God. The people, the attendees of this dinner rushed toward him. Dude. And it was just amazing to see the excitement of these people for this politician. Well, I want to tell you, Duke Cunningham is right now in jail serving time for kickbacks he took in his position with contractors and voting for this project because he was getting money under the table. Anyway, that's how that politician was treated by his constituents, and look at him today. Okay, so that dinner, among people going in, who did I say was, I can't think of his name, the bearded fellow.
Okay, Lynn Nofsinger?
No. He's on television today. Okay. He's a conservative on television today.
Bearded fellow.
Oh.
Okay, we're going to stop for a minute, take a break.
Anyway, I'll come with another man, and I was looking at the tickets the man had in his hand. And I looked at this bearded actor, and I said, "You're on TV," and he smiled and nodded. But he never said his name, and the other man didn't say his name. And according to Clint Eastwood on this latest Republican convention, he said conservatives don't brag. And that actor wasn't going to claim fame to himself when he's here for the ticket to raise money for Bob Dole. Okay, so anyway, the vice president nominee hasn't been named yet, and here comes the convention. The dinner begins, and it's all quiet in the hallways, but we have to stay. And out comes from the dining hall Haley Barbour, who is a Republican chairman. And I walk up to him and I said, why don't you be the vice president nominee? And he smiled. He said, no, he said he had his own job to do, and it was difficult. And anyway, and he said, there's better people, more qualified people to be vice president. Anyway, I walked with him to the elevator, and he was so gracious and charming, and he seemed to love this little banter, light banter after, I'm sure, the serious speech he had just given, begging for money. Okay, so then, so I do want to tell you that over in the A section, one evening before the speakers, or I guess they were minor speakers coming up, but all of a sudden there was an uproar, people standing up applauding over in the A section, and I never could see a thing, and none of the other ushers. We had no idea what was going on over there, but the delegates on the floor were applauding and shouting, and so were the people up in the stands where I was and other ushers were. They were also smiling, and it was a happy event that was going on over there. I had no idea until the next morning on TV I saw Pat Buchanan and his wife entered, and everybody was applauding and giving him a standing ovation. Okay.